I'm Mark Antell. I have hemophilia. I was born in '46, and right after the war, there really wasn't a lot out there for us. You know, there was whole blood when I was really small, and that was followed up with plasma. It wasn't until the '60s that we began to get a really efficacious therapy, the cryoprecipitate. And then, of course, in the late '60s, factor. Those nights in the hospital, surviving with pain that was extreme, and a joint that's out of control, and a lot of very frazzled people because they couldn't really give you anything for it, and it was pretty horrible. My brother does not have the condition. My sister, though, one of her boys has the same condition as I. If Ruben hurts himself, there's going to be medicine, and that medicine is going to shut things off. Whereas for me, if I got hurt, and maybe it wasn't a bicycle ride, more frequently it was just stepping off a curb wrong, you know, there'd be the ice and eventually the trip to the hospital where I'd get some kind of therapy. We got the hepatitis C, and there was enormous risk of exposure to HIV as well. I do have that HCV viremia. I've had it now at the very least for 3.5 decades, and probably longer than that. You know, I was almost certainly exposed the first time I took factor, which was in '68, in the early '80s, and I was married at that time. I had a family of 3. We were doing fairly well. All of a sudden, we were in a situation where we were learning there's something very horrible out there. It's called AIDS. It wasn't even just beginning to be named. I found that a lot of people that I thought were friends really weren't. A lot of the supports I thought were there really weren't there, emotional and the like. It ruined my marriage. I know my wife really couldn't stand the being bonded to someone who was potentially some sort of a vector for disease. I will not say that I responded well. I sort of ran away and continued to stay away from the hemophilia community. I was just emotionally shell-shocked from it. That's not a justification, but there it is. Almost certainly a majority of us who are older than 30 have got that hepatitis C. We've had it for decades. We're beginning to sink. You know, after decades of living with it, we're beginning to sink. We're beginning to get symptomatic. Interferon plus ribavirin. I took it. It was a slog through hell. My hair fell out, and I got ashen, and I felt as though I was just miserable. After a few months, we saw that I wasn't getting that full viral response that you have to get, almost down to 0. So mercifully, I was able to say, okay, it's not working, and stop taking it. For people that have had hepatitis C for a long period of time, like our community, we did intervene with a citizen's petition to FDA and said, allow us access to the new investigational drugs. There's a number of drugs that are very promising for hepatitis C, and what we'd like to see is some urgency in getting those to people who really need it. And if we wait, as we have waited for another half decade, a whole lot of us are going to be gone.